What we're going to cover is a complementary video to the article on combatives. What I would like to go over first is just some general information. And I know a big question that will arise is, why are we trying to, quote unquote, add on to what, for example, the JKD curriculum already has? Or how can we say that JKD is missing this particular element? Well, if you look at it, again, infighting, first of all, has to be defined two different ways, because you have infighting that you speak of when you're doing like Wing Chun or when you're doing boxing, even the hybrid from JKD, versus when you're talking infighting in this particular instance, we're talking about close quarters combat. So infighting in that respect is close quarters combat. Anything outside of that fighting measure, or in the case of fencing, outside that fencing measure, is going to be considered a weapons range. From this point on, out here would have been my longest weapon. Okay? But when you get into the fighting measure, it's a little bit closer because the human body is not as long as the tool, and we're using the human body as the expression. When you're talking about close quarters, we're talking about when you're in a range that is much more significantly close. So instead of being outside here, where I have to use footwork to adapt to that environment, the close quarters combatives area is going to be inside here. Okay, it's a little, actually, believe it or not, it is a little bit tighter than trapping, because trapping only pertains to one particular element that we're covering. Okay? The other thing to remind yourself of immediately too is also in the close quarters area, you're talking about the use of sidearms, long arms, and edge or impact weapons at this point as well. Remember again, close quarters. Okay, versus being out here. Go and take your lead. Okay, for example, he's set up in a lead. I told him to set up in a lead. I know what's going to happen pretty much. Even if he is a faster opponent at this point and he moves forward, I do have that time in a JKD structure, if he moves forward, to use an obstruction of some type. Okay? However, if in an actual real-world environment where there are other things going around in my life, other than me standing in front of someone in a studio or in a classroom, okay, I might be standing here doing something like this. This guy comes out of nowhere, and at this range, my stop kick is totally not beneficial to me. Okay? I don't have the range for it. Yes, I can jam, but if I'm taken off guard, that's probably not going to be my first defense. Okay? My first defense, if you've probably been trained, first of all, it's like Bruce used to say, let the strike by itself. So at this point, that is immediately, bam, I need to get in close, and it has to be immediate, and because it took me by surprise, it has to be that much more violent and that much more devastating. So it's not a purely submissive defensive position to where I'm coming here and I'm just putting my arms up, but immediately I have to apply, boom, several elements of violence right away. I'm crashing hard with my body. I'm hitting with more than one tool at a time. For example, if I'm inside here, I have my forehead is hitting, this hand is in the face, I'm hitting on the forearm, and if I've timed it right, I should be banging on his knee, so I have several things going on at one time. So instead of going back to the idea of I've acquired this position out of poor tactics, and the next thing you know, he takes a shot, and now I'm having to go through some kind of trapping set, totally is different than that surprise element. With the trapping, you've gone from one particular range. So boxing, for example, has taken me into a range to where I can attach to a tool, and then I can trap. But at this particular range, yes, I'm not going to say you cannot use trapping, but when it happens situationally where you're taken off guard, you're not in a fight that has been prearranged. It's not where you squared off with someone. You told them, okay, I'm going to meet you at 12 o'clock, high noon, and we're going to square off and we're going to fight. This is walking down the street. Joe Blow comes out of nowhere because of the wonderful economy. He needs my wallet that I don't have. He doesn't know that, though. So he's going to come after me. So I need to be able to immediately lay hands on him. And this puts me, one, mentally in close quarters combat and physically in close quarters combat, because now I know I have to do something immediate, and it has to be, and particularly it has to be extremely violent. All right. So since we spoke on the topic of emergency response at close quarters, that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to start with a basic review of the elements of the EMR position or the emergency response position. Okay, so regardless where you are on the clock, let me try to go over the points of the clock. I have a 12 o'clock position, 6 o'clock position, of course a 3, and I have a 9 o'clock position. Any movements forward at 1 and 11 o'clock is an emergency response will occur. Okay? Any of the others on my periphery at the 180 degrees or 90 degree points are going to occur when I use stepping back to center and stepping to the known, which we're not going to cover right now. But just so you have an idea that all the elements are covered. So I can attack or engage the opponent behind me by stepping to a certain point of the clock with simultaneous cover and simultaneous offense. But here, because the attack is immediate and it is in front of me, okay, I'm not, on this particular instance, going to go straight forward because it's taken me off guard. I'm not going into the attack. I'm going towards the attack, but I'm also diverting by going to the outside. So I'll be moving at 45-degree angles, in this case at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So if my opponent comes forward, I have the option of stepping off at 1 o'clock or stepping off at 11 o'clock. I want to step with the foot that is on the side that I'm stepping towards. So from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that has me stepping with my right foot. Okay? From 12 o'clock to 6, going counterclockwise, has me standing off with my left foot. So what I'm doing as I do so, first I'll just cover the feet, is as I step off, my body is dropping. As I drop, I'm using my rear foot still as my piston. I'm letting the weight fall onto this foot. As the weight falls, I'm going to sink simultaneously with the knees and the hips. Okay? So I'm not square to you, but at this moment, my body is also at that 45. What I do want to keep in a line is going to be my right shoulder and my right hip. That is my alignment. So later, if I'm practicing a quick draw and I want to use fire on the center with my firearm, or as I draw my weapon, that still gives me my lead. Okay? So stepping off either this side or the left will appear the same. Again, whether it's the right side or the left side. As I do so, I'm going to also use what's referred to as a 2% tuck. So what I'm not doing is I am not leaning. What is actually occurring is because I've sunk here and I've sunk at the waist, okay, what I'm actually doing is relaxing and rounding off the shoulders, and I pull my abdomen about 2 inches back towards the center of my spine. Okay? So that's that 2% tuck. So it is not me physically trying to lean forward as much as it is me squatting slightly with me pulling my ab back. Now what that does is two things. When you get into the adrenaline cocktail, first thing that happens is your core gets extremely tight. What your body is trying to do physiologically is protect the most important elements of your body. When you're in a stressful situation, your legs are no longer important to your body, and your arms aren't, because what's going to be preserved is your Darwin up here, your heart, your lungs, and your viscera. Now, the first thing that will also happen for anyone who's experienced it, in an extremely violent situation, some people, their first response is either to throw up or to let go through the other canal. Okay? And that's because they have not learned how to relax that core and simultaneously tighten around that with your abdominal muscles. So that's why when I'm dropping, I'm protecting that slight constriction. I'm not contorting it so much that I am extremely tense and I can't move, but just enough to compress everything back away from the abdomen and push everything back and up. Okay? So that's what I'm doing on that. Now, for the upper body portion, what I'm going to be doing with my arms is you can refer to as saluting. When I step off to my right, for example, it could be this hand saluting, and again on the left side, it would be the right hand saluting. However, because of the situation, I'm going to bring up both hands simultaneously as I come forward. So again, what should be taking place first is the arms, but I'm going to do the arms last. So from this position, okay, my body is sunk, I have the tuck, I have my alignment. As my hands come up, my elbows stay in. They do not come up. Okay? The purpose of that being that the ribs are the gateway to my lungs and my heart. Okay? So I want to protect those first, especially if an emergency situation occurs. I don't want to do this because if it's a knife attack, it's immediately going to plant. If it's a knee or a kick, at least this can cover and take some of the damage. Okay? So again, both hands will come up simultaneously for the moment. So as they come up, my head should go forward of the hands this way. This way I can still observe. Now what I am not doing is turning my head away from the attack. I want to maintain my eyes on that same center line that I've developed by stepping off with my hip and my shoulder. So as I come forward, I still need to have my head towards him. Okay? What this will do later on, when I get close to him, not only can I see the whole periphery of what he's doing, I can see anything else, and more importantly, I have a secondary or primary attack. Okay? So that is basically the EMR as we go in. Okay? So again, coming forward, coming forward, coming forward. You'll see several variations of this where people are going to do this. You know, some people will cover this way. It's perfectly fine. I'm not saying one is more important than another. It's just that you will always revert back to the way that you were trained. So if someone told you to do this, that's what you're going to do. But I guarantee 9 out of 10 times if you're walking down the street and a plane crashes far off or you hear a loud noise of some other kind, you're not going to do this. Your first response is to go to what's referred to as a standing fetal position. Whoa, what was that? Even if you turn around and look, you go, whoa, what was that? That is everyone's first response. It's a very natural response for people to do. Whoa. Okay? So that's why I'm going to use some basic reaction is this, and then you can turn it into whatever you want, you know, to suit your own personality. We're going to kind of come into a classroom situation because we're videotaping it. But what's going to happen for the moment is I'm going to have my partner attack with a straight hand either off the right or left side. A lead does not matter because it doesn't matter what lead a person is on the street because you're not going to stop and say, oh, damn, he's a left lead. I have to do something different. It doesn't matter which lead it is. All I need to know is this thing is coming towards my face. I need to either respond to the inside of this or respond to the outside of it. It doesn't matter where the leg is at this particular point. All right, so what my partner is going to do, and we'll go slow just for the record, is he's going to step forward with either foot. For now, we'll say the right foot, right hand, or right hand, right foot. He's going to come to my face. Okay, we'll just say he's slightly trained, so he's going to take a straight punch to my face. Okay, my emergency response here, because of the range, is I'm not going to fade back or go to the side because I always want to progress forward. What I'm going to do is compensate by stepping off at that 45. So when a hand is coming in, okay, so as I see this and I'm stepping forward, the first motion should be the hand that is closest to him making contact first. So as this hand makes contact first, because I am saluting, it will have two effects. It is both being an obstruction long enough for me to move my head forward. As my head moves forward, it is also simultaneously moving his arms slightly up. And as I'm doing this, because I've kept that 2% tuck, there should be a slight push on the center line of his energy. So it should be slightly pushing him this way and upward, which is referred to as uprooting. So as I bring this into play, this is coming up and forward towards him, and that is called the uproot. Okay? Now, we're doing it slow because it's easier to see. So we'll use this hand this time. Same idea. So as I come forward, ideally I like to catch right about the elbow. So even if I were using a blade, I would be doing the same idea, trying to catch just above or just behind the elbow. Okay? So again, my hands are coming up. My body's tucking down and forward. Hands are slightly lifting. At this point, yes, I can raise my elbows a little because it's not my initial cover. This is, but as I come up, I'm trying to push him slightly away with that. Okay? So that's me. So again, I'm only looking at you so you can see me or hear me better, even though I have a mic. But normally I should have my face towards him, and I want to be as close to him as possible when I do come in. So I don't want to be in the situation where I'm doing this because now he has those 3 free tools. But if I get a little bit closer, I'm kind of limiting his ability to use those tools. And if he spins on me, you know, shame on him. Okay? So that would be my outside response to that. So again, he attacks, doesn't matter which hand, boom, I'm popping that up. Okay? So you can also see it from this perspective. Okay? He moves forward, I'm moving off, boom. Again, boom, other hand, boom. Okay? Now, you can start this as referred to as a zombie drill. You can have your partner come forward with one hand or the other so that I'm standing here in a neutral position and he just walks straight forward at me. He's a zombie. He doesn't know what's going on, and I'm going to respond to that. So you can see it from the side. It's just him being a deadhead. He's walking forward, and I'm going to move forward. And I move forward. In the case where he uses 2 hands, okay, this gives you the option of going to the inside or the outside. But the progression should be single hand outside and then single hand inside. So we're going to do single hand inside this time. So this is generally used either as the case where I can get a slip, or in the advent that when he strikes, it's a large circular motion. So he's going to swing like a haymaker. Okay? and I come inside of that. Bam. So again, as I come in, you can see what is occurring is what's called the 3-4s. So I'm hitting him with a forearm, I'm hitting him with the forearm, and I'm hitting him with my forehead. So that's the 3-4s, F-O-R-E. Okay? So I want to get in as close and as tight to him as possible. So I'm hitting here, and I'm hitting here, and he gets this. Okay? So again, note that I'm facing him, and I'm striking and uprooting. So this is a forward and upward contact, or shunt. So it's coming forward and up at the same time. And it should be short and choppy, but hard. So I'm not just going boom, but he should feel that jolt. Joel should feel the jolt. And he did, which is why he kept leaning away. All right? Same on this side. So again, I'm trying to get to the inside of that. In this instance, you notice I'm not trying to bypass this, but I'm crashing this line because I'm trying to get outside. So I'm here, bang. Okay? Still trying to get outside. Later we can pass that arm to get to the outside. Boom, boom. Okay? So again, we'll take it off this side. So again, I'm going on the inside, crash. I go on the inside on this one, inside, crash. Okay? Keep the arms, maintain contact with this arm. I know one thing that's immediately going to come to everyone's mind is, well, what happened if he brings his hand underneath? There are several things that can happen because if is the middle word in life, but if he does that, I'm going to hurt that arm. I can go back to something else that we're going to refer to when we cover more of the low line stuff. Right now we're on the high line, and when we get to the knives, it'll cover a little bit different, where you're going to have simultaneous high and low coverage. But for the moment, we're just going to start with the initial crash. Okay? So if we go back to the zombie drill now, where he's coming with both hands, okay, this gives me the option of going outside, inside, inside, outside. So all your partner has to do is walk straight forward in their daily routine, and I can choose, which one? Boom. Okay? So that's simple. Okay? All right, so we're going to walk through one scenario using the emergency response. Okay, so we'll walk through it slowly first, and then we'll go a little bit faster. Because remember, even when you're training with this, you still should apply some very uncomfortable pressure to your partner's neck. Okay? So what I'm going to be using in this case when I come in is called the edge of hand. Now, technically, this is edge of hand. However, anything from the tip of my pinky on the ulnar side of the arm, which is the non-thumb side of the arm, all the way to the olecranon, which is the tip of the elbow here, this is all edge of hand. So it doesn't matter if it's here, edge of my hand, edge of my forearm, or the edge of my elbow. That is all considered edge of hand in this aspect. So again, my partner attacks from out of nowhere. I'm covering, so I have my 3-4s. I'm hitting here. This hand is hitting forward and down. Now when I say hitting down, it should be hitting towards the back of him. So I'm going with this hand, hitting it towards his center line, behind him. Okay? So as I crash that, I'm simultaneously crashing with this forearm. Again, remember I said that I'm making contact with the edge of my hand forward and upward to get that uprooting motion. And if his head happens to be there, because this arm is going forward, I'm hiding behind that, bam, he also gets a Scottish kiss. Okay, bam. I'm going to repeat that for the moment 3 times just to disrupt his balance. And as I'm doing that, they should be swift but hard chops. Okay, and it's chop, 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 real quick. Forward, 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 forward and up, forward and up. You have forward and up on the hand that is on his neck, and forward and down on the hand that is on his attacking arm. Always using the forehead between. Okay? So again, slow, I'm crashing, bam. 1, 2, 3. Chopping each time. Now I'm going to change direction. So as I have him uprooted and back, what I'm going to do is change. So my body is now going this way. I'm going to turn. As I turn, I'm using, again, edge of hand, and I hit down as I turn. That should get his system going. Okay? Now he's there, I can continue to hit. Now what I will take is what's referred to as a high knee. So it is not a thrusting knee like in a sports situation where I'm going here. Okay? I am using the upward motion of the gross motor skill, or the gross muscles, to use the entire surface of my thigh, from the knee to the hip. So he's here, whatever leg is behind me is the one that I'm going to use first. So I'm not deliberately just thrusting with the knee to his body. What I am going to do is 2-prong. 1, I'm bringing my knee up, but at the same time, I'm continuing to hit down with this hand on the base of the neck. At the same time, I want to use my body as the upper part of the snowplow. So you have this effect where you have this one is lifting and this one's holding him down. The result of that being, as I knee up, he tries to lift, he can't. I'm going to use gravity again to step down. What I do with that foot is I stomp down. And as I stomp, that's a hit. And then I raise the other knee, bam, and then I stomp. And then I raise, and then I stomp, and then I raise, and then I stomp. And I continue to do so until he becomes room temperature. Okay? So we'll walk through it again just a little bit faster. Okay, so bam, bam, bam. I change direction. There's my first boom, boom, boom. All right, so again, I'm crashing that line. Bam, bam, bam. Hit and turn. Drive him back. Boom, boom. And he's off camera, which is okay. Another thing I want to point out once he hits the ground, I'm going to use it this way for a second. As I hit and he starts to fall, once he's on the ground, I don't want to be in this position. I want to fight towards his head. Bam, bam, fight towards his head. Make him turn to adapt to you. Instead of me coming down here, now I have to deal with this stuff. You know, blah, 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 blah. I don't have time for it. I got a place to go. Fight towards the head, kick the general, leave. This time we'll approach it from the inside. So again, I'll walk through from the outside, excuse me. So as his attack is coming, again, I'm moving to the outside. Now the only thing that's going to change here is because I do not have direct contact to his head, I'm going to have to move this accessory arm. So as I lift this, I'm going to use my other arm to chop that down. As I'm chopping that down, that immediately lets me come inside, bang. Now I'm back in the same position, chop, 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 bang, bang, bang. So I'll do it again slowly. So he comes forward, emergency response, that arm's in the way, hit it down, allows me to get in close, bam, there's my hit. 3 hits again, his head comes down, that's when I change direction. Knee and stomp, knee and stomp, knee and stomp. What? You didn't see it, so we'll do it from another angle. So again, I'm on the outside of that, I pick it up. I want to get rid of that arm, bam, I'm coming in. So I have my forearm and my forehead. He's uprooted enough, his body's already up. Knee and stomp, knee and stomp, knee and stomp. Again, fighting to the head. Okay, now I'm going to go over some of the basic tools. Okay, so I'm going to start from the extremity of my extremity, so which would be my fingertips. Fingertips can be delivered several ways. Once again, I have just what's called a spear. You're going to a compressed, where you're taking the tips of the fingers and you're actually bringing them together. So here versus compressed. Okay? So that's the fingertips. Fingertips can also be delivered in a claw formation this way. Okay? I can't hear that. Okay? So notice the weapons will progress as I go from here. There is this, which I'm not going to do, which would also be this, to this. Palm strikes again, bam, using the base of the palm here. Okay. Even if the palm is applied as a hook, it is still the base. Many people are going to use this. That is only applied at the end of a slap, but even the beginning of the slap is still the base of the palm and then to the fingers. Okay? Palm strike, palm strike. Okay? So I have fingertips, I have my palm. Okay, and now you have the hammer fist. Hammer fist. So again, pretty simple. That's the edge of the edge of hand using the largest muscle. Bam. Okay. And then from that aspect, I have my forearm. I can use my forearm again here. I can use again my forearm here. All right. And then also I have my shoulder. Okay. Shoulder can be applied as a shoulder butt, either using the tip, which is soft tissue, okay, or the outside, which is also soft tissue. You really don't want to put bone against bone. So if you're going to shoulder butt, the face is okay, but not on the forehead, because that can dislocate your own shoulder. Okay? So going from there, some of the essential targets. Primary targets. Okay? And you're going to probably have a controversy on what someone else may have told you, but for the sake of this is what our primary targets are going to be. Eyes. If he can't see, it's harder for him to get you. Okay? Secondary. throat. Okay? Then, okay, you can apply to the sternum, which will also affect the heart, bladder, and then the groin. Okay? A nice shot to the bladder does a world of wonder. Okay? Especially if he's got a full bladder. That thing busts, it's not going to be a pleasant experience for him. Okay? Now, some accessory targets. Again, okay, I did say throat, right? The chin can be a target. Chin is primarily what you're striking to try to get a knockout. Okay, you can do that. But the philtrum here is probably going to be a better shot at this point. Okay? And I know myths are that you can push the nose up into the brain. Well, this little piece of cartilage stops right about here. It's about yay long. Once that thing snaps off, it's not going into your brain. It can turn and go up on top. It can turn and go into the nasal cavity, but it's not going into the brain. Okay? All right, so keep that in mind. All right, so those are the primary targets that we're using when we're referring to our hand strikes. Generally, when you're kicking to the leg, those are not primary targets because those are stop points. Common sense will tell you, kick to the large joints. Kick to the knees. Another large joint is the ankle, rolling the ankle, kicking the actual ankle itself, okay? Or kicking the knee from the side, kicking the knee from the front, falling on the knee with your own knee. Those are all primary targets for the knee. Another target on the thigh, when you're using an impact weapon, is anywhere along the lateral aspect from the hip to mid-knee. There is another one where you have a nerve, turn this way, just below the calf on the inside. If you can hit this spot, especially with an impact weapon, in this case it would be my shin bone. If you have a stick, it would be there. Hit that nerve. The nerve itself doesn't cause the blood clot, but wherever there is a major nerve, there's also a major artery. Hit that, blood clot to the brain. It's nice knowing you. Okay? So those are some of the primary targets. Okay, so here are essential striking progressions in this case. So what I'm going to use first is I'm going to use what's referred to as a shocker. Okay? Now the shocker is me applying the pressure of my palm right about, which from the back is the same cordial nerve. It affects the heart. Let's keep it simple. It affects the heart. So if I hit it from the back side, okay, that's an effect on the heart. Especially with something blunt with about an inch diameter right there, can stop the heart. Okay? Write it in the book. All right. Now, the heart being greatest here, we're going to apply it actually just below the xiphoid process, and I'm applying pressure here. So as I'm taking my step, my 45-degree angle step to 1 o'clock, my shoulder is still coming to the center line. I'm still going to end up aligning my opposite hip to him as I take this. You can take this strike with or without posts. The first post is a high post at the base of the skull. Second post is midpoint to right where the lats end, just above where the lats end. Okay? And then I'm going to go into the lumbar region. So I'm going to use the cupping of the hand and strike right on the lumbar, right on the sacrum. Okay? So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to hold his arm as a reference point. So first, the shocker is going to be delivered with, again, a turning and dropping step. So right as I come in and I lean forward, not only is he getting my headbutt, but this strike is coming in. Hit and pop it. So I'm not going all the way through, but I am going to penetrate enough just to go beyond what the American Heart Association wants you to do. Bam. So I'm going to hit, compress, and immediately come off. Because I will not do this stroke alone. I will probably use several. I might go 1, 2, 3, and then go to something else. I might go here, and then bam, right into the bladder. Or I might go in here, boom. See, when I hit here, his head comes down. Boom, that's my headbutt. When he comes up again, bam, that's the heart again. Probably 3 times is going to be suffice before you go into something else, like taking him down. Okay? So again, that's the shocker. Bam, right in there. Hard and quick, just like throwing a straight, boom. But it's with the palm. As you make contact, sudden shock, penetrate, sink, and come off of it, and repeat that motion with a twisting and untwisting motion. Twist and untwist. Twist and untwist. As you do so, if you have contact with anything, doesn't have to be the elbow. It can be his skin. It can be his shirt. Just hold on to something. Pull him into that blow also helps because it also brings him closer to that headbutt. So that's why I don't want you turning your head this way. Okay? You want to hit him with this thing. Okay? Hit him with your Darwin. bam, okay, bam, bam. Okay, so that's the shocker. So next from there, what I'm going to do is go into the throat grab or choke. Now note the difference between an actual grab and a choke. A choke is a grab. However, most people, when they choke someone, they're trying to use the full perimeter of the neck. Okay, that's what's referred to as a muscular choke. Okay, I mean, it's intense, it's threatening, but what I want to do is get a little bit more personal. So as I'm striking here on the sternum, it's going to hit this thing called the sternal angle. It's a small bone located about a third of the way down your chest. You'll note there's a little notch there. That's the sternal notch. As I hit there, I'm going to use the web of my hand to come up along his throat. Once I've done so, what I'm going to do then is make my fingers touch. So I'm not trying to grab and squeeze to see how strong I am. I'm actually going behind the entire pharynx, going in and making it touch. So I hit to get him to go up. Then once I'm in this position, fingers touch. Once I touch together with my fingers, I am going to again step forward. I'm going to punch this hand to the ground with my fingers firmly grasped around his throat. I can stop here with him and hold him and let him break that so he chokes to death that way, or I can escort him to the ground. Bam, with that. And then fighting to the head, knee and stomp. Okay? So again, on the other side. Okay? So again, I hit. As I hit, this hand will automatically pop up into there. So even if he has his chin down, he's trying to guard against that, bam, that's going to pop right into there. He has no choice. Even if he's really strong and I can still get that in there, this is going to make him a believer. Okay? Right in there. Squeeze that, and as Moses Paul would do, just drop all your weight onto that one aspect of those two fingers, and it crushes. He's no longer a happy camper. A lot of guys describe it as you get this wonderful sensation of red pepper. I haven't experienced it, but okay? So that's the throat grab or choke. Okay? So from there, now I'm going to go with the palm jab. Same idea. I'm coming along the sternal angle. Notice as I do this, this elbow is coming up to cover here. This portion of my palm goes straight to the ceiling as high as you can. And it's just one more time. I'll try to do this slow, but it's bam. Make sure your teeth are together. Let's do that one more time. Bam. You're just going to hit as high as you can. Once you've done that, then you can go into some of the accessory movements. Okay? So again, we had the finger jab. Okay? Now I'm going to use the finger jab here on the throat. Again, it's probably better to use it compressed. If your fingers are strong enough, like personally I like to use one or two fingers, it's straight in and then reach down. Okay? Straight in and then reach down. The whole time you're doing that, you're using that same twisting and sinking motion. And the moment that his body flexes, boom, that's when you step forward. Woohoo, save the head. Okay? And there's no simple way to practice this. I mean, you have to get in there and boom. Okay? There's nothing polite about it. It surpasses all social boundaries. All rules are off at that point. On that, you're going straight in. More fingers is better because you can get inside. I'm going to use this t-shirt, for example. Once I go in to that little notch there, I want to grab behind the collarbone. And then I punch my foreknuckles into the ground. So if this were his throat, it'd be grabbing here, and I punch that down to the ground. And that's what I'm following down. Okay? So I'm not releasing him once I've gone here. That's fun. It's a great show trick. But I want to follow that because I want my fingers to go as far in as possible. And then I want to go behind that collarbone, reach down, and then behind the collarbone, just inside. It's very, very, very uncomfortable. Okay? I don't care how strong you are, you're going to be really unhappy. All right, so now we're going to apply moving to the inside with the emergency response and going into the choke, okay, or in this case, the throat grab versus the choke. So when he comes in to swing, bam, getting his attention. So right away, when I come in, I can either go here and then go into the accessory choke, or you can be more direct and go immediately, bam, right into the choke. So again, come off that sternal angle, bam. And here, note, as I'm doing so, I've crashed, gotten inside. My understood hit is that forehead. Here's my post. If you can see my hand coming down here, this is my post. Because I've driven him up, he's off balance, take the squeeze, boom, drive him down. Okay? And if you can see that, I got a full grip on his throat. If you want, as he goes halfway down, and you've driven him back, stop midstream, hold on to that, and let his body weight pull the throat. Boom. Can only hold on to it for so long before it just breaks and he becomes good. Okay? So again, from another angle, sure. So again, boom, I'm inside. Notice this hand's pulling down into this. Okay? I'm taking his head to the tip of the triangle, which is between his feet. Boom, and I am going to step through this, let him fall. Okay? Just hold on to that. If the same thing were to occur and I take it on the outside, so he strikes, and I get on the outside of that, bam. Okay, immediately, because that arm is again in my way. I mean, I could do an accessory shot here, but what I'm going to do this time first is I'm going to use the lop in this case. So as I pull this down, I am going to anchor this towards the outside of my hip. As I do so, I'm applying pressure across his forearm, or excuse me, across the elbow with my forearm going towards his face. So you'll get a better glimpse of this. So I take this and I'm on the outside of this. Boom. Immediately make attachment. This is my hyperextension of that arm. As I'm hyperextending this arm, simultaneously as I pull here, this hand is going towards his eyes. Now at this point, lower center of gravity, boom. This brings him right to my fingertips. Okay? From here you can go into your locks. If you want to go to the ground with him, you can do so in this case. You can drop him any way you want. Bam, boom, boom, boom. Again, fight to the head. Okay? So I'll do both again. Okay, first the inside, boom, crashing inside, boom, get that, pick up the throat. Okay? Nice accessory is that shin right against the neck. Accidentally fall on him with both shins. You have the ribs and you have the neck. With that point made, go ahead and lay that. Okay? I have no qualms about kicking someone when they're down. I mean, it was a fight. Okay? Kick him in the back of that head. Use the top of the foot, base of the shin, bam. He will see starlight until he goes black. Once I've gone to this position, go ahead and drop your shin right across his jaw. Okay? I mean, if you have to rest on him, put all your weight on him. You know, don't ruin nice pants on the concrete or the dirt. Just go ahead and use the dirt that's below you. Okay, so I have the ribs here and this, and then you're doing your other attacks with that arm. Okay? Just wanted to point that out, because a lot of guys will strain their knees by trying to stay over that. Rest on them. I know it's your training partner, but you know what? Train them for reality. So if this attack comes and I'm coming on the outside of that attacking arm, oh, hyperextension of that. Again, pulling. This foot will swing back. That's called an anchor step. Because what I'm doing is swinging this. As I swing, I'm pulling. As I pull and swing, I'm lowering my body weight. I'm leaning forward over that arm, shooting into that elbow. And the pressure on that elbow is the one that brings him where I want him. So from a double choke. Should, and whenever this should occur, okay, and you happen to be in that position, okay, don't fight with everything out here. I mean, he can squeeze, he's got two hands, that's fine. It's going to hurt me long enough. But immediately, boom, again, you go back to all the basic tools. Again, you can shock him. The only problem with the shocker at this point is the distance of my arm and still having that barrier there. So that might detract him, it might not. So a better shot at this point, bam, it's going to be inside the throat. Again, pushing forward, he's going to flinch back with one or the other, and that will give me his arm. So for example, in this case, so I take that shot, he's flinched back, he's giving me this arm. I can go with the single hand wrist throw in this case, okay, or boom, pick it up on the inside, okay, vertical wrist cradle to here, whoa, where are you going? Or if I want to get to his outside, pick that up, now I have an arm drag. So on that arm drag, after you take that shot, using again the forearm to hit on the bicep, I like to use my head to trap that arm, check, pulling this in, boom, headbutt there, pulling this in, continue that motion down, boom, wherever you want it. Okay? Some of the aspects of the training that we do not get into, in particular with the JKD aspect, but which is my primary concern, are dealing with impact weapons, which impact can be your hands, it can be your feet, it can be a stick, it can be a broom, anything that you can strike with, a book, so on and so forth. Some of the other aspects of this are the edged weapons. Okay? Training knives are really nice. A lot of guys use rubber knives. I don't particularly like rubber knives for two reasons. One, they don't instill enough fear in me. And two, they're rubber. When you go to do certain disarms, they just don't work like a real knife. The aluminum knives are a nice change, because they can resemble as close as possible as a real knife without having an actual edge. And if you get dinged with it, you kind of know you got hit with something, so that adds a little bit more respect to the weapon. If you have the money, you can also purchase like the shock knives, which are a little expensive for most people. What I use is a simple little stun gun. I mean, they work, they're motivational, they still have the same training effect, and it allows you to train really without getting hurt. Okay? And that being said, I can also apply that to the same aspect as using a training firearm, whether it's a red gun, an orange gun, or in my case, a blue gun. So that way you can get the same training with everything that we've done so far. So for example, you should be able to take anything that you have learned and be able to apply it in any environment. That is difficult in some disciplines because they're structured a certain way that you cannot take this principle and apply it into another aspect of combatives or fighting. For example, I'll use a shorter knife because most people carry small knives. So in this instant, where he did attack me earlier, I did mention how we were focusing on the high line. I'm going to take this back for a moment so you can see that I was on the outside of his arm or whether I'm on the inside of his arm. At this moment, I'm focusing on that high line. The game will change when you bring the edged weapon into play. Okay? So if he does attack with that, see, I immediately get control, but once I've done that and I've hit that away from me, I have to maintain assuring that this is down by starting to hit this down and back. So, I mean, it's very similar in Wing Chun, and I know that Mark Denny and those guys have something very similar, and so, you know, you can look into that as well. But I'm crashing that line. I want that knife away from my person. And you have to be realistic, too, when you're training with the knife. So again, one, use a realistic knife. Whether it's metal, wood is nice because of the splintering, or something electronic is very motivational. But also the training should be realistic, too. Your partner, when he goes to attack, go ahead and attack just for anything. Boom. Okay? Should come at you. He shouldn't, let me borrow this for a second. Shouldn't stop. Okay? He should have the intent, boom, I'm trying to hit you. The other thing is, for your training partner, you're going to start off slow and gradually progress as you guys get more excited and used to each other. But the few times that I've experienced edged combat, I've never had anyone just throw a single strike. It's never just, I mean, it's always boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I got a couple of scars and a couple of little things to prove that it didn't always work my way, but in the end, you know, I'm still standing. So that's just some of the things that we do want to point out to you. We do get further into the Impact Edge, which is one of our training courses. It's called Impact Edge, which covers the use of projectile weapons, in this case, projectile weapon being a firearm, whether it's a handgun, a long gun, blowgun, those are projectile weapons. Archery, same thing. And then your edged weapons, of course, anything that has a blade is an edged weapon. Even a credit card used the right way is an edged weapon. And then your impact weapons again, your own person, books, wallets, whatever you have, those are your impact weapons. So I highly encourage you to seek further training. And we have plenty of workshops that will explain in detail everything that we've done here today. However, note that you can watch the video over and over. You can read the text over and over. You're not going to get the full information unless you have someone instructing you in the finer details. I mean, you can get a gross idea of what's taking place, but you actually need someone to coach you through this. And I'm not saying this as a marketing point, but I'm telling you the truth. I mean, you know there's an instructor or you know there's a teacher. One person can lead you one way and the other person can give you all the inside line. And then from there, you take it and make it your own.